just stabbed me with the EpiPen. This was life or death. I was like, hey, I'm really finna die at my age of 7. That time, the EpiPen didn't do that. I will say, if you definitely have a partner in your life who's not really understanding of any of your health concerns or any of your mental health concerns, they're not somebody who's supposed to be in your life, and we just gonna keep it at that.
Right.
What's poppin', what's good? It's your girl Mami Tiff, and I am back again with another video. What is up, you guys? I haven't done story times, I feel like, in so long, but I feel like it is long overdue. And something that has really just been on my mind is how much my food allergies have contributed to a lot of trauma in my life and to a lot of day-to-day things that come up in my life. I honestly was on YouTube trying to look for a video that was like this, and I couldn't really find a video that I could really relate to. But I specifically am allergic to eggs, apples, peaches, pears, cherries, cucumbers, and carrots. And to be honest, that's probably not all that I'm allergic to, because I've had anaphylactic reactions to other foods, but because I haven't been tested for them yet, I don't really consider them as foods that I'm 100% allergic to. So I just kind of want to start from the beginning. When I was a very young girl, I mean probably from baby to toddler, I could tell that whenever I had desserts or sweets, I just didn't feel good after eating. And I remember just being very young and wasn't able to speak at the time, but my throat was closing up and I just didn't know how to effectively communicate. But it was to the point where my parents started to notice, you know, I would push away sweets and desserts, pastries, all of that. I knew that I wasn't feeling good, but I didn't know if it was normal. I didn't know if I was supposed to be feeling that way. And quite frankly, I didn't know what an allergy was. I was like 2, 3, 4 years old. And as I started to go to school, specifically when I was in kindergarten, I went to Catholic school, and my mother packed me lunch every day, so I didn't really have many issues. But the issues started popping up when I started going to elementary school. I went to public school through elementary all the way through high school. My first 2 weeks at elementary, I was having an allergic reaction damn near every other day. I would end up in the nurse's office. It would be like my lips are itchy, or my lips are swollen, or my throat is closing. I went to allergists. I got tested for, you know, the common things like peanuts, other nuts, and nothing was coming back. They said I was allergic to walnuts, but to be honest, I don't eat walnuts like that anyway, so it doesn't really matter. But it took my mother and my nurse after a whole year to figure out that I was allergic to eggs. So once we solidified that I was allergic to eggs, it was kind of sad, because unfortunately, you know, as a young kid, you go to a lot of people's birthday parties, you have birthday parties yourself, and I could never experience what it was like eating cake. I couldn't eat cake at my friend's birthday party. You know, thankfully, my friend's parents were so nice that they would actually make, you know, an alternative for me. Like, some of my friend's parents would make Rice Krispies for me, like a homemade Rice Krispie, or some other treat, just to make me feel like I was included. And I'm 100% appreciative of that. Like, there's been a lot of moms in my life who have tried to accommodate me as a young child. You know, little things like that can just really upset you, and I feel like there was a lot of people in my life who really put in the work to make me feel like I wasn't any different than other kids. So yeah, that was my main battle. And then around the time I was in 3rd grade is when I started to have reactions to fruits. So I used to eat an apple every day, right? One day during 3rd grade, I was eating my apple and my lips swelled up. I didn't think it was the apple at first, because I had been eating apples every day, so it was like, you know, that was something that I didn't think I would be allergic to. I was like, must be something else. 2nd day, ate the apple and my tongue started itching. 3rd day, ate the apple and my throat closed up. And then after that, we started to notice, you know, can't drink fruit juices. And then one day I started having an allergic reaction to cherries that I used to eat all the time, and ended up in the hospital for it. So I ended up getting, you know, allergy tested again. Come to find out I was allergic to apples, peaches, pears, and cherries. And to be honest, I probably am allergic to more fruit than that. But unfortunately, I don't know how it works, but here in America, if the fruit isn't grown in our country, they can't determine whether or not you are allergic to it. This was at the time when I had gotten my allergy tested. I don't know if it has changed now. I hope it has. But at the time, I knew for sure that I was allergic to apples, peaches, pears, and cherries. But By the way, if you're wondering how it works, they typically do a blood test, but there's also prick tests that they do, but blood tests are typically the most accurate. And around the time that, you know, I became allergic to these fruits, I was in and out the hospital. I feel like at one point in time, I want to say in a 3-month span, around the time I was 7 or 8, and it was just based off of me having allergic reactions. Also around the time that I started to have these reactions to fruits, I started to kind of exude or like take on symptoms of someone who would have OCD cleansing. You are afraid to touch certain surfaces, and for me, and this might sound like, Tiffany, why would you even think this way? But around the time I was having all of these fruit allergic reactions, I was afraid to touch door handles, I was afraid to touch faucets, I was afraid to touch some of my toys, I was afraid to touch the food primarily that I was allergic to or having reactions to in the fridge. If something that I wanted in the fridge was behind eggs, for instance, I refused to touch the egg carton. I would literally ask my mom, can you please like move this for me so that I can get the food that I actually want to get? And it was kind of like almost in a phobia of touching things. And you know, around that time I also started to lose a lot of weight and ended up actually underweight for my age. So it definitely had a huge effect on me, and I would find myself consistently washing my hands. I would literally like turn the lights off as I would like leave the bathroom and be like, oh my gosh, like I need to wash my hands because someone who had an apple could have touched that light switch, and like I just can't have that on my hands, or I can't have that on my skin because I'm afraid I'm gonna have allergic reaction. So I would just wash my hands excessively, or I would always use hand sanitizer. No one ever really thinks about that when you're allergic to things, that how it can affect you outside of the actual like symptoms of having an allergic reaction. Okay, so at this point, it wasn't just like, you know, I couldn't enjoy birthday parties and have cake with my friends. It became, I had to bring my own food to my friend's house whenever I wanted to go hang out with them, or whenever I wanted to have a sleepover. And honestly, from the beginning of when I became allergic to eggs, I always had to tell a waiter or a waitress whenever I went to a restaurant that, you know, these are my food allergies, and it's something that I still have to do to this day, and let them know what the deal is, because it's severe. It's severe. I have anaphylactic reactions. If I could explain how it feels, my throat closes up, I feel like I can't breathe, and my throat feels tight. And I have to use an EpiPen. I will also say, as someone who has food allergies, every time you go into the grocery store and you want to try out something new, you have to read all the ingredients. And let me tell you, as someone who's allergic to 7 different things, that is so exhausting. It is so exhausting. One very traumatic experience that I remember having around, I don't even know if it was 3rd, 4th, it was definitely in elementary school, I will say that. But my sister had to literally leave high school to come pick me up at my elementary school because I was having such a severe allergic reaction that the nurse called my mother and was like, you need somebody to take her to the hospital. And my emergency contact at the time was not eligible to bring me to the hospital, and my mother worked 50 minutes away, and you know, the high school is about 10-15 minutes away from where I went to elementary school. So they pulled my sister out of class, and my sister literally came to my elementary school, picked me up, and took me to the emergency room. And on the way to the emergency room, when I tell y'all my anxiety was going so fast, I was like, you know what, I'm not gonna make it. I was like, Whitney, just stab me with the EpiPen. Don't know, an EpiPen needle goes halfway through your thigh, and it's also supposed to go through clothing, so it ain't no joke. You know what I'm saying? Like, this is a very serious needle. And on top of that, the EpiPen is supposed to like subside your anaphylactic reaction or allergic reaction immediately, and if it doesn't the first time, it for sure will the second time. As we're like probably 2 or 3 minutes away from being at the emergency room, my sister whips out the EpiPen, stabs me in the leg with it, and I'm like, you know, this don't really feel like it's hurting. Like, it doesn't really feel like what I thought it would feel like. But honestly, I was like, you know, it's probably my anxiety. I'm probably in shock. Don't really feel it. Come to find out, when you get an EpiPen, it comes with the real EpiPen, but then it also comes with the dummy version, so you can practice with it, because now EpiPens, when you open them, they start talking you through the process, which is really nice, because essentially there are people who are trained to use an EpiPen, but people who aren't trained to use an EpiPen but are in, you know, a dire need to save somebody who's having a severe allergic reaction, the EpiPen will talk to them so that they can go through the process. At that time, the EpiPen didn't do that, and my sister was literally just stabbing me with the dummy EpiPen, or the replica, and you know, we got there and we told them like that I got stabbed with the EpiPen, because essentially if you get stabbed with the EpiPen, you have to stay at the hospital overnight. They don't let you go, they don't release you. And they literally were just like, well, where did you get stabbed with the EpiPen? And they looked and they were like, yeah, you didn't actually use the EpiPen. And then my sister showed them the EpiPen and they were like, yeah, that's not the actual EpiPen. I mean, just, you know, we were young, we didn't know, we were just, you know, we were trying to work through it, and at the time my anxiety was through the roof, as one 7, 8, 9-year-old would. This was life or death. I was like, dang, I'm really finna die at my age of 7. But yeah, honestly, I pretty much have had a hold on my allergies, I would say probably since middle school, but I still deal with things on a day-to-day basis. Like, as someone who is a foodie, who loves to cook and who loves to go out to eat, you know, it's just a challenge for me when I go to restaurants, and sometimes I can tell that the waiter or the waitress who is serving me, they are just not going to be comfortable with the amount of allergies that I have. And I feel like I overwhelm them, which is unfortunate. But sometimes I'm like, you know what? If I know this certain dish is gonna have a certain food that I'm allergic to in it, I'm just gonna tell them, oh, I'm allergic to, you know, eggs. Can you make sure this, you know, particular entree doesn't have eggs in it? But if I know for sure it's not gonna have any of the fruits I'm allergic to in it, I'm not gonna tell them that, because they already looked overwhelmed with me just telling them that I have eggs. You're probably like, Tiffany, why would you just tell them that and not tell them all your allergies? Well, I've been to a plethora of restaurants when I tell them all of my allergies and they literally tell me they can't serve me. Nothing sucks more than when you cannot be accommodated, because people, quite frankly, are just lazy. If I am bringing money to your business, you should be able to accommodate me. And so it's truly just like an insult, I feel like, and I feel like it's just, truthfully, you just don't care about your customer the way that I cared about your business and the food that you had to offer. So, and I've dealt with that in a plethora of ways. I've literally been in the middle of a restaurant and just broken down and cried, and people have looked at me crazy and were just like, what is wrong with this girl? But they just don't understand that the battle that I have of, you know, wanting to try different foods, but people can't make this simple accommodations to just use separate utensils or separate, you know, spaces to make sure that I don't have a severe allergic reaction or that there's not any cross-contamination. I've also been in a relationship with this one guy who literally, whenever we would go out to eat at a restaurant, he would get upset with me as if I was inconveniencing him because I wanted to try a dish and ask them if they could substitute certain things in the dish, and he'd be like, well, why wouldn't you just pick this dish that's very simple? And it's like, well, I don't want to pick that dish because that's not what I'm currently in the mood to eat, or that's not what's appetizing to me at the very moment. And to me, as a business, you should be willing to want to accommodate all your customers if you truly care about them at the end of the day. I will say, if you definitely have a partner in your life who's not really understanding of any of your health concerns or any of your mental health concerns, they're not somebody who's supposed to be in your life, and we just gonna keep it at that.
Right.
But yeah, I know this has probably been a very long video, but I really just wanted to come up on here because I know there is children, young little girls, young little boys, or however you identify. You are going through, you know, allergies, or maybe you're going through other food sensitivities, or, you know, you are just on a specific diet for your own health. You just know that you're not being accommodated for, or you know that, you know, you're experiencing, you know, things that you wish you could experience as your friends who weren't on those same food restrictions as you, and it sucks. It really does. But I just want to let y'all know that like we'll make it through it. You know, this is something that I've accepted. This is something I have to live with every day. And to be honest, there's been a lot of positive things. I know I've talked about a lot of negative things in this video, but there has been a lot of positive things that have come out of it. I found ways to work around all of the people who told me no, or all the people who weren't willing to accommodate me and didn't find me worthy as every other person in their restaurant. And you know, it's doing your own research and coming up with your own recipes. I've made my own eggless cake, okay? And that's because I wanted to be able to enjoy things that I wasn't allowed to enjoy. Reached the end of the video. I hope you guys enjoyed this video as much as I did. It was something that I just had to get off my chest. I'm definitely going to be talking a lot more about my mental health, my physical health. But thank you guys so much for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Bye guys.